Hey guys, this is Chris from Creator.
And this is Colin from Creator.
Now, this week's challenge was under the sea. And we challenge you guys to build something under the sea, be creative. But why are we doing this? Like, if you're new here, Colin, what are we doing?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Again, if you guys are new here and don't understand why Chris and I are putting ourselves through the torture of doing a box to mock series, or why we are challenging you guys on a weekly basis to make your own mocks with a specific theme, the reason is because we have BuildCon, Alberta's largest virtual building convention, happening in August.
Yes.
It's August 28th to 30th, and this is just a huge lead up so that you guys can get excited for it, so you guys don't miss out. But that's why we're doing it, and it's all thanks to New Horizon Mall in Calgary, or in Airdrie rather, that we're able to actually host this.
That's right. Thank you, New Horizon, for actually putting this together. And yeah, this is just all a lead up. We're hyping it up for you guys.
For sure. So what set are we using today, Chris, for our Box to Mocks challenge?
So this week we challenged ourselves with a friend set. This is Andrea's accessory store. This was a super fun build. We had 2 sets of these, and under the sea was the theme. Now, Colin and I are about to reveal our build. I hope you guys like it, but please check out more of these weekly contests. We're gonna be back once again on Monday for a new one, but for now, check out our reveal for this challenge.
Yeah, let's dive into it and check out our builds. Yeah, we finally took some time to set up our builds, and so we're gonna be able to dive in and give you guys a close-up tour and a more detailed view of what is going on, because this is a crazy, crazy building week.
Now, before we go any further, if you guys have been enjoying our content, be sure to give us a thumbs up, smash that like button, and share it to your friends. You know, we can't do these videos without you guys, and please subscribe, and it'll just give us feedback on who's watching.
Yeah, so the more viewers, the more of this we can do, the more contests we can run, so it's wins for everybody.
Thank you guys. But yeah, let's start with Colin's build. We'll give you guys an overview of so far what we've built, and then we're gonna do some detailed shots.
Yeah, so my initial build, my initial idea was actually a little bit different from what came out. I wanted to do just a singular underwater scene. So what I was gonna do was I was gonna have like floating buoys up top. Maybe
that's so good.
I was gonna have like a boat with a glass bottom using the door pieces.
Yep.
But I just found out as I was building the amount of sand colored base that I had and just the piece selection that we were given for this particular building challenge, that vision was unfortunately not gonna be possible.
Right.
But while I was building out that initial platform, I was able to get some other ideas. So what I did instead was I made more of like a classic set, which is hilarious because that's the exact opposite of what I would normally want to do or like to do. And so how I did that was I made an aquarium.
Yes,
so
we can see.
We've got a bit of a scene here. So we start on this far side and we work our way through the aquarium. Okay. So we'll follow our hero character here.
Nice.
And basically you can come in through the into the aquarium rather, and at the front here you've got the flags, you know, to impress you, to draw your attention in, and we have a cash register booth area and a, what do you call that? Like a counter. Basically like a countertop area for them to be able to pay for their entry.
Oh, that's the entrance booth.
This is an entrance booth, correct. So there's cash register here for entrance. Yeah. I don't know why everyone's paying in hundreds. I guess it's a pretty rich area.
It could be like, you know, like SeaWorld, something like that.
Maybe. They're not being very corona friendly though.
There's nobody there.
Social distancing. So you come in, you're able to pay at your entrance. There's actually an interesting spot where you can drop off your baggage if you're traveling. So there's luggage compartment as well as a purse compartment if you don't want to take it around. There's also, it's dog friendly, but if you don't want to travel around with your dog through the attraction, like this other patron is, you can actually drop your dog off, and we'll get a closer shot.
Yes.
There's a dog
they
here
have to see that.
with some water and food bowls, which is hilarious. And then as you move through, before you actually get into the main attraction, you can buy yourself an ice cream or a shaved ice.
Yeah.
So we have another cash register on this side, and we have a couple selections. So the first one is just a shaved ice. It's clear, there's just no syrup on it yet. The next one is like a lemon flavored one. Yeah. And then the last one is actually just a strawberry ice cream. So our hero character, our main character, decided to go with a strawberry ice cream.
Ice cream cone.
Yeah,
Wow.
while she decided to while she moved through. So
Why wouldn't you? It's a hot day.
it's a hot
nice
day. It's definitely
summer.
a hot day. So I'm actually gonna move this portion out of the way just because it sort of just detracts a little bit from being able to see the rest, and we'll do more detail on that later. So what we're left with is the centerpiece, which is the main aquarium.
Yeah.
So what we have here, we have a few things. So I wanted to utilize the clear pieces to represent like glass, so you can really understand that it's an aquarium. It's for viewing.
Right.
Otherwise, it was just left open. I felt like that would have been more indicative of like an actual under the sea, like in an ocean scenario. So we use this to block it off. I used the remaining blue, teal, light blue pieces in the background to try and signify a little bit of depth, that it's water. It sort of fades away into water. So our character is going to come here and view it with the other person who has her camera out, and we've got a few things going on in this scene. So the main one is, of course, this giant, it's actually a whale shark. So it's not a whale, it's not a shark, it's a whale shark, which is a real thing. Look it up. But he looks a little funny. He's not the most realistic, but I had fun building him. I was actually super surprised with how much blue pieces were actually in this set.
Yeah,
enough to make something of this scale with the representation of what it actually like. I think it represents itself relatively well.
Fantastic. You did an amazing job.
Considering. So he's pretty cool. He's the main one, obviously. We used a lot of those clear window pieces as razors in this set. So he's sitting on top of some clear pieces, as well as I used the capes to create some fish. Very simplistic fish. They just have eye, a front piece, and then the cape is utilized as the back fin. That was one of the first ideas I had to do for fish, and it was the very last thing I built.
You guys will have to do a close-up on these.
Good thing I had parts left over. The first thing I ever built out of the entire thing was this trilobite. Which is like just a really old school, like fossilized creature. You can see like the scaly things. You'll just like Google trilobite, you'll just see a ton of like scaly fossilized critters that kind of look like the fossil Pokemon.
Yeah.
It's similar to that. Exactly, something like that. So he was the first one I built. Then I went on with the whale shark. I then created a crate or a treasure chest. And it's being not protected, but managed by a mermaid here. So I used another one of the capes, but I did it on the front to give her a bottom half fin. And there's a bunch of treasure inside there. And then afterwards, I started placing in this foliage and using the petals, kind of like coral or underwater like growth.
Yeah,
just to fill in the scene a little bit. And one of my favorite things that I did, which is going to be the hardest to see, so we'll make sure we get a picture after, is the tiny school of fish that I made swimming underneath the whale shark.
I see it.
Made out of the pens. Or like the stylus
lipsticks?
Is it lipstick?
I don't know. I think they're pens. You're right.
I think they look like stylus pens.
Yeah, right.
But I utilized them being held up by claws.
So smart.
And they're like interwoven into the actual scene. So it looks like a school of fish swimming through.
We'll have to get a shot of that.
That's one of my favorite things. The other thing that I think is really cute just because of the simplicity is the crab. It's just a tiny crab.
Wow.
So that was pretty fun.
That's a good one.
Another thing that didn't really make it into the set, but I built anyway, is actually a giant squid. So he would be floating through the water. I wanted to display him either as like a giant squid, like not actually like a living one, but like maybe just a displayed version, or have him in the scene. His size didn't really make it too possible for that to happen, but I still wanted to keep him together because I thought he was kind of fun. Utilizing these parts in that way kind of reminds me of the squid from Minecraft or something. Yeah. And then I used the top colors and shapes to give it a bit more shape. But
it's part of your story, anyways.
It's part of the story. It's not like the main part. It was kind of something that got thrown together while we were building, but we'll move on with that.
Sometimes you got to do that.
Sometimes. And then the last area, I guess, as you continue on your journeys, is there is. Do you know what it is?
Wow! It looks like another smaller aquarium of a smaller jellyfish.
Yes, it's a jellyfish.
It's a jellyfish. So good.
What do you call that? Aquarium, like a mini aquarium. So a lot of times, if you go to an actual aquarium, the jellyfish will usually be housed in this round case with like a colored, usually a colored blue backdrop. In this case, I used the pink as a backdrop. I used this glass as the aquarium itself. And I really wanted to make more of these because I think they're super cute at the end of the day. But we only had 4 bars. Yeah. There's only 4 white bars, and I had actually used them throughout the build until I decided I want this jellyfish, and I ripped the build apart so I could take these bars.
Nice.
Because they're kind of cute.
They actually work really well.
I think it turned out really well. So you have the jellyfish.
That is so cool.
And then the last thing that we have on the journey is an exploration into the equipment of a diver.
Oh,
and so
snap!
The front portion here would come off and could attach to the back of a minifig. And what it is the actual oxygen canisters.
Tanks.
So this is oxygen tanks that you would wear. On the side we have a goggles. Yeah, a swimmer's goggles and swimmer's mask. And then the last side is their handy dandy underwater camera.
Of course.
Yeah.
For taking pictures.
They can take pictures of the giant squid or other things that people wouldn't believe you have. So that's the overview of the build. That's sort of the idea that I had while I was making it. The execution wasn't exactly what I had envisioned the first time, but as I started building it, the pieces that we had, actually there was quite a bit in terms of the variety, more so than I thought we would have.
Yeah. And
the utilization of them, I feel like, was more successful, not successful, but more efficient. Like, we used almost all of the parts, both of us. Like we tried almost all of them.
Almost. Yep.
Which is interesting because we've never actually talked to them about that.
What we try to do?
Yeah, so Chris had mentioned before that previous build contests that he does and that he's held before, the more pieces you use, the more points you get, right? Or you get
bonus points.
You get bonus points if you use up all your pieces.
Yeah.
So you guys might be wondering as you like look through our set sometimes, it's like, well, why did you bother making a squid at the end of the day? Because I needed to use the pieces. I needed bonus points.
We try to see who can actually efficiently use all the pieces because like that's what these sets are for. We're challenging ourselves to use these parts in a better way.
Yeah.
And to create something awesome. So I think Colin definitely used up a lot more parts than I did. I think I had 29. He had probably
I had 26. It was really, really close.
Really close.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that was before I found my last minifig though, so maybe so 24.
Funny. Okay.
But yeah, Chris, let's dive over into yours. I'm so excited to hear the story behind this because there's so much going on.
Well, going back to how I started my build, I wanted to do something that had mystery. Yeah. So I started off with the temple, which is at the top. And I really wanted to convey like some sort of island, like a mystery island from far away. And so starting with the temple, like it already shrouded mystery, but I wanted to take the theme like almost literally under the sea, like what's underneath that island. Yeah. And so then I put my focus on that, like creating that mystery, creating a story. And so the base was pretty much the starting point of this whole entire mock. And I started off with trying to centralize the focus on the city. So starting with this, I made my way down. So the city itself was kind of like, I envisioned it almost like Atlantis. So this purple or pink trans parts in the middle there was going to be like some sort of power source.
Okay.
So the moment somebody like a human encounters this temple, they would be leading them down to the city of Atlantis. Like, I don't want to call it Atlantis because I didn't come up with a name. Right. But it's, you know, like
but the idea.
City.
Right.
Right.
A hidden underwater city. So cool.
That trans pink magenta color really signifies that power, that mystery, that aura that this city creates. And
something a little bit more something a little bit more mystical than just like a physical building.
Exactly.
Like, that's so cool. That's so smart.
It's not ancient ruins. I wanted to give it some life. Yeah. So that's why the trans clear magenta pieces were there. And I did scatter those pieces throughout the entire build as if it's powered by the city. Yeah. So you'll notice that the way that these magenta pieces were placed in, it's leading to the center going up.
That makes sense.
So there's a bit of direction. And then I use the dark blue, the earth blue, to illustrate just kind of direction going to the focal points of the building. So it's a very advanced city, as you guys can tell.
Definitely.
They do have some drones and probes kind of guarding it. I actually either I was thinking it was part of the civilization, because you can tell that it's not made by man. It's not made by human. It's definitely has that water Atlantean feel to it. It's very organic. And then the colors are very different from ours, because if you look at a regular submarine, it's usually yellow, right?
That's true.
So this one is teal, so it gives it that water feel. And then I did kind of just try and give the city some life. So you do have some micro scale fishes and
really like
things.
I can't wait to zoom up on that, because the bow is being utilized in that way. The shape of them, as soon as they're placed in this orientation, I was like, that looks like a school of fish. That's so cool.
Right.
And I never thought of using it that way.
That's right. So yeah, like I really wanted to create those kinds of appearances. Like there's a lot of greenery. It does feel like a city. Now, what really makes it stand out is just the colors. So this underwater city is something that you don't see normally.
Right.
And I kind of like how we have similar aesthetics. So what I was telling Colin was his scene could possibly be in the city, because we did utilize similar elements like the flags and the white structures. That being said, like it's very similar, the aesthetics. So there could be a story or set concept in itself with our builds. And you know, like a couple other things, like I did have some rotating things just to make it feel dynamic. And for the most part, I was just trying to focus on the story of the buildings. Like there are some really high towers and there are some low ones, just to introduce like how does this city flow.
Right.
That's it. I mean, I have an architecture background, so I just
that makes sense.
I got a little bit carried away.
When did you decide to do the land on top?
That was one of the first things. Yeah,
right.
Like I did lay out my piece. And I was like, okay, what can I use these big pieces, especially the tan pieces, and what can I do with the small pieces?
Ah, okay. So you set the small pieces aside to be able to do this?
Yeah.
Because that is so cool, the way he utilizes the trends or the clear window panes, or I use them as window panes,
right?
But he laid them flat and used it as basically water,
yeah,
leading to a sandy island.
Yes.
And the way that looks is so cool. And it's basically just the tip of this building sticking out, and then everything else is submerged underwater.
Exactly.
So cool. Like this gives me so much inspiration. Like this feels like such a fun thing that you'd want to go in and explore. Like I want to go in this little drone and like drive around and explore. And I want to like go into the city and see what else.
Well, I mean,
so
that's where your build comes in, right? Like there is something inside there.
You know what it feels like it could be? This would be a massive like Disney themed castle, and then you go inside and then it's just the aquarium or something.
It could be a giant theme park for all we know. But yeah, no, like what I wished I did more was elevate the island a little bit higher.
Okay.
But I kind of wanted to use more of the pieces to focus more on the city. But if anything, what I wish was a little bit higher, so you can introduce the submersion, right? There's more things happening to it. Because this
What would you have done with the extra space?
Well,
how would you have included that?
I would have put more fishes. Like the school of fishes were kind of like part of the initial idea. It would have been nice to kind of show that, you know, like as the lower you go, the more fishes, or the bigger the buildings get. But I did run out of like parts. So at the end of the day.
So a really interesting point. So the reason why we do from box to MOCs is to challenge ourselves conceptually, challenge ourselves thinking unironically outside the box, to challenge ourselves with a limited amount of parts, because I know for me, when I'm building within this series, I'm always thinking, if I could just go to my collection and grab 4 more of this part, I know that I could introduce an entire new thing.
Exactly.
Just a few more of one specific part could introduce an entire new thing. And so I think that's what makes it fun.
Oh, totally.
Like you said, you had a bigger concept, but obviously we have to scale it down and make it work. It's just so cool. I think that by itself, though, it really stands and portrays exactly what you're going for, and it feels mystical to me.
Thank you.
And it feels adventurous to me. Like there's so much sense of adventure in here. Like I just want to dive into it. Like I said, Chris, what is this guy over here? I don't think you mentioned. There's like a small looking like probe or
yeah. So it's just like I was trying to think about this is where the main submarine or probe is, and then it was releasing another one.
Oh, okay.
Just like a single person where this is where the crew was. Now, going to your point, I have to say that these sets, the friend sets that we've done so far, we've done probably 3 of these. Oh no, this is our 3rd one.
Yeah.
This is probably the most fun. Just because we don't typically build with friend sets.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, and I do encourage everybody to like step out of their comfort zone, step out of the box, so to speak. Sorry for the puns. But like we were thinking how to build with a completely different set of parts.
Yeah.
We've never built with friends. Like I would never think of buying friends, but in this case, it pushed us to like look at a different angle, look at a different concept. Yeah, I was more creative in this one. That's what I feel.
I think so too. I think it was so far outside of our normal building comfort zone that we almost just threw away all of our previous, at least for me, I threw all away my previous conceptions. Like I said, I wouldn't normally build like a set, quote unquote, where they have like floating individual pieces. Like this feels very much like a Lego-esque like piece. Especially in a friend set where they just have something that just sits off to the side instead of being a one cohesive build. So that was something completely different that I did that I never really do. So that was nice. But you're right, the colors and the pieces that were introduced, it was just so refreshing to look at something and being like, wow, I'd never seen that before.
Yeah.
Like I never thought about it before. I'm so excited to be able to utilize this in my build. And it just came out feeling so satisfying.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree.
So, like Chris said, if you have any hesitation for using like a friend set, or for using a set outside of your comfort zone, even if you don't necessarily like the aesthetic of that specific set, we challenge you just as builders to build with that set. Just take it apart and just use the pieces and see what you have.
That's right.
Or use the color schemes that come, because the Friends color schemes are
beautiful.
Awesome.
Yes.
They are awesome. By far some of the best bold colors you can get. So yeah, definitely challenge yourself to do that.
I agree with Colin. Like, look beyond the set. It's not just a girl set that we built with. It's actually, there's pieces in here that really make it unique. And I would personally, mine is like going back with the color, what Colin said, I wouldn't build with these colors. Like, but just because we were put in this situation, we were forced to, it made me think, how can I build, because I like spaceships, potentially insert a spaceship in here, right? And this thing, once you guys get to see this little probe thing, this was beautiful. Like, I really had the most fun.
Yeah.
Like, I did have parts that were left over, and I just thought, okay, this doesn't make sense to me. I don't usually have these parts, but because I love spaceships, how can I put one in here? And then it's
There's
just
some
building what you
pieces
like.
you will never get in any other sets. These back pieces, if you don't know what these are from, go look at the set and see what this original build is from.
Yeah.
I didn't end up incorporating them into mine. I was
That's
bummed.
okay.
I used the wheels from it because they actually work really well for double.
Yeah,
you can reverse your building
We'll
so
show you
quickly.
that. That is a good one.
Oh man, I was like the whole time I was like, I wish I had more of these. I wish I had more of these. You only get 4 or like 5 maybe. I think it was an extra one. But these pieces, you're never gonna see them anywhere else, like outside of a friend set. And man, they make good mechanical pieces. Like this is great robot pieces. Like I can't wait to see what you do with them now that you have them in your collection.
Exactly. Well, I mean, we're gonna keep these together
for now
for BuildCon.
For now.
So you guys will get a chance to see these builds in person. We are keeping the From Box to MOC series alive, and when you guys get a chance to see BuildCon, you will see these builds once again. They will make a return. But that being said,
yeah, they'll all be displayed side by side, so you can see them all in one go. What were we gonna say?
We're gonna dive deep into these, so you guys will get a closer look before we get going. But guys, hope you guys like it. We hope you guys are inspired. This was super fun for us.
I thought it was going to be the more difficult challenge. It was difficult in a different way, but it was by far the funnest challenge we've done so far. I really liked it. It was also the first challenge where we built something that could exist in the same world, where all of our other builds, the spaceship one I guess makes sense, but this one really felt like a cool theme that I wouldn't have expected us to come to a similar conclusion. So it was really cool to see our ideas come full circle. So keep an eye out for the next section. We're going to zoom in and give you guys some details in 2 seconds.
Before that, just a reminder.
I forgot.
That's okay. Here, we got lots of prizes for this week. So we are gonna have one grand prize winner, but I managed to scoop up some of these guys. So we're gonna do some more prizes.
Yep.
And the underwater, we have a feeling that you guys are gonna be super inspired before the contest ends. So we picked up some more prizes, but there is one grand prize, which is that friend set.
The big one.
And we are encouraging you, go outside your comfort zone, build outside of the friend zone, or in the friend zone. Build in the friend zone.
Good one.
And yeah, just like have fun with it. Just like us, we're trying to share our experience with you. That's why we're gonna give you guys one person the grand prize who can experience that friend set that we got too.
Yeah, definitely. So as Chris said, we're gonna do a little bit different. We're gonna do one major set this time, so keep an eye out for it. Otherwise, we got a bunch of other sets to give away. Make your builds, submit them by Sunday, don't miss out.
Thank you guys. So we'll see you guys with our close-ups.
All right guys, so it's Colin. We're gonna dive into a little bit more detail. It won't be a full explanation. I just wanted to show you guys some of the smaller, more intricate details of the build that you couldn't see on the previous camera. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna follow our hero character with her ice cream that you guys probably didn't get to see very well previously. And we're gonna start with the entrance of our build. So as we talked about it, it's kind of like an aquarium, so obviously you're gonna have somewhere you need to pay when you come in. So you can have your character come up to cash register number 1. We have some cash laying there from previous guests. As mentioned previously as well, we have some baggage storage there. So purses can be stacked on top of each other, as well as some luggage. This being an aquarium, you can imagine that there's gonna be a high tourist destination, so having that bag storage is important. But for the locals, if you also wanted to bring your dogs with you, you're more than welcome to. It is currently an outdoor aquarium. So we have a dog bowl here, a dog with 2 bowls, one for food and one for water. Also, to show you a bit of the ice cream situation on the secondary cash register, which you should definitely pick up before you head in because it is hot, hot, hot out. As mentioned before, we have a shaved ice with no syrup on it. We have a shaved ice with lemon flavor, and in the very end we have a strawberry ice cream cone, which our hero character, main character, is going to be eating while she travels through the rest of the aquarium. So, as we mentioned, moving forward, there's a couple more details that we probably want to show up close for the aquarium itself. One of my favorite builds is this tiny little crab. It's a 3-piece build, very simplistic. So it was basically built for like a top-down view. We've got 2 pincers and a flat crab top shell, and he sits nicely, just loosely on the sand like that. We have the trilobite, as mentioned before as well. Got some interesting details, and the colors are sort of unrealistic, which kind of makes it fun. Very bright, very bold teal. One of my favorite utilizations of the cloth pieces was to be able to turn them into fish. As I was looking at these, I found that the shape of the bottom replicated the fin of a fish pretty well. And so I wanted to utilize that to try and build a couple of fish. So that was really fun to get to. Of course, the major build of this scene is our whale shark. So he was one of the first major obstacles I had to get over, besides obviously laying out the base. But after I got him in place and have him raised up on the platforms, as mentioned, it's very easy to take him apart and disassemble him if you want to take a look at him, and then he just simply goes on top again. So I'll actually move him out of the way for now so we can get a closer look at the other things. Moving over to our mermaid, again, another utilization of the cape pieces, just facing it downwards instead to look more like a mermaid. We have a chest filled with treasure, and again, I liked using the pen, the stylus, or the lipstick pieces. We're not 100% sure what it was utilized for in this specific friend set, but having them floating in between the reef and the foliage basically under the sea kind of makes it look like a school of fish swimming through the scene, which I thought was pretty fun, made things a little bit more dynamic. Other than that, we had some extra pieces, so we went ahead and built ourselves the giant squid. He didn't end up making his way into the scene. I was also going to display him as a side piece, but sometimes in these box to MOCs challenges, we have extra pieces, we want to utilize them. It doesn't make sense to fit them in the scene, but I made them anyway. So that'll be a fun character just to have and display. Maybe I'll give this one to Chris as our present to each other.
I like it. It looks like a railgun.
Oh, Chris thinks it looks like a railgun. So if you turn it this way and this was rotating, which it's not, but Chris will literally do anything he can to make something mechanical. So moving on outside of the aquarium itself, we're left with a couple of extra bits. So again, with Chris and I's builds, we try and utilize as many pieces in as many unique ways as possible. We'll start with this one because I like the other one better. This was similar to my, what did you call it again? My marketplace for my last build. So if you guys haven't seen it, go check it out for the Firefang set, where this has multiple items basically just on a central platform. So we have oxygen tanks for a diver. This will go on someone's back. We have their goggle and diving mask, which was actually the same as the sunglasses that go on top of the set.
She's a big fan.
She's a big fan. She wears her goggles everywhere she goes. So it's just different interpretation. I actually think that they look very close to diving goggles or diving masks. So I was pretty happy to be able to utilize it, sorry. And the last one, of course, is just a camera. I just put on an extra piece just to give it a little bit more dimension and to set it apart from your average photographer's camera, which our other character is holding. Now, just moving on to the last piece that we talked about. One of those things that I wish we had unlimited parts for when we do box to MOCs is because you come up with certain ideas that you just end up really enjoying. And one of the ideas that I really liked and wish that I had a school of were these jellyfish. It's a very, very simple build. It utilizes, I think, a maximum of 6 parts for a jellyfish. So we have the main white cylinder body. We have a really nice faded pastel blue, which I think works for an under the sea build. And then we have the 4 bars. And the limitation for me making more of these just came down to the bars. Because if I used any less, I don't think it would have that jellyfish feel. But I just didn't have enough to make any more. But just this little display, the singular display on its own, is probably one of my favorite pieces, just as a standalone set. But that again is a little bit more detail into how I used those parts. So again, this was Colin with my Under the Sea build. What we're gonna do is we're gonna switch over to Chris's, look a little bit more detail at his, and finish off the video so that you guys can get excited and start building yours as well.
Hey guys, this is Chris, and I'm now doing a deep dive. Oh, that was a good one. Of our Under the Sea build. Now, I don't have a name for this city yet. I really want to stay away from Atlantis, but starting from the top, we have an island, a little lonely island that has an interesting architectural building that maybe has a housing for something secretive inside. Now, we have these parts used as trees. They're super big and off the scale, but I do have some statues and a couple of foliage, so some green bushes and some like greenery around there. Now, the transclear is the water. So below that, I used another transclear part to give it some elevation and some support. If I were to remove this, it's actually, you guys can see that it's all held up all together. I made it so that the transclear part has enough opening and clearance to fit right on this center piece. Now, what you guys are seeing is a hidden city that I wanted to reimagine as somebody that's coming into, stranded in the ocean. They're just exploring, and they happen to run into that building in an island right here, and inside they discover this city, this underwater city that's full of life. It's actually not abandoned. And this trans magenta piece that you guys can see here, that's what kind of powers the entire city. That these colors were illustrated and strategically placed to show that everything, this power, this color is powering this city. It's giving it life. Now, without going to too much detail, like these are school of fishes, so you guys will see. I used some of those trans clear studs to kind of put them on the side so they look like they're fishes. There are some fishes down here that you guys can see. So all those sunglasses and ribbons that you attach to the hairpiece, those I use as a representation of fish. And more importantly, the one thing that I wanted to really point out was this guy, this right here. So as what we mentioned in the video, this guy is a probe ship, so it's an underwater explorer. Because it's a underwater city, you do need a way of transporting people. This is a bigger ship compared to a singular ship here. Now the interesting part that I did was I used the bars and clips to give it that kind of like action move and give it that floating style in the ocean. So that's what the parts that I utilized. I used the bar and also the robot arms to kind of give it that push away from the buildings. Other than that, these buildings rotate just to give it kind of like that, once again, powered feeling in the city, that it is alive, it's not abandoned, there are people living in it, and it's party time. Like this city seems to be some place that I'd like to explore someday. Now, the reason why I went this way was I wanted to do something that is outside of my comfort zone. Looking at the colors, I was really inspired by doing something architectural. A lot of Lego sets that were architectural, especially the adult sets, are made of white bricks. So I really wanted to hone in my architectural background and do something that was like something beautiful, especially with a very elegant city. All right, guys, so that was my build. I hope you guys liked it. We really put in our 150% into these builds. Colin and I had so much fun building with these friend sets, and we want to encourage you guys to do the same thing. Build outside the box. Think about not just the set itself, but look at the colors, look at the parts. Think about how you can use it into your own style. And yeah, this was an amazing challenge. From box to MOCs, episode 3, Under the Sea. Thank you guys.